they should have a deadline. Remember, it's like, if you taught 3 classes, what else are you doing?
Let's get started. Right, so, 20 ways to detect fraud. The first one is unusual behaviour. Right. So, if someone's been, you've got to think about this from the perspective, if someone's been stealing from the business, it doesn't matter how that fraud happens, but if they've been stealing, they're probably going to be worried about being caught. So you might see them doing things like staying behind really late at night so they're the last person out of the office, or that might even be when the fraud's taking place. It might be that their behaviour is unusual because they've stolen a bunch of money. You know, if I've managed to steal $1 million from a school, let's say, and Mr. Armstrong asked me as I come in on a Monday morning, what did you do last weekend? I'd flown down to Sydney business class. Right, I might be a little bit defensive in not answering him, whereas normally I would tell Mr. Armstrong absolutely what I've been up to for the weekend. So a different behaviour might be a sign that someone is stealing from you. Complaints. This is really, really important. Right? So this idea of a whistleblower, someone might bring a complaint that needs to be looked at. Okay, XYZ is doing the wrong thing here. So if someone comes forward, it's really important. But more than that, it might be that you take the time to encourage people. You might find a process of encouraging people to come forward and make complaints.
But then is that, like, if you encourage people to come forward, then you're kind of letting everyone know that there is.
Yeah, I guess you would.
People that are committing it will be like, oh.
Yeah, well, that might help solve it. It may not be solved in the way you want, but you might just do it as a proactive thing. You might just make it really clear when anyone at the interview, you might say, one thing I really value is honesty amongst staff, and so if you have any questions or see something that concerns you, come directly to me and feel free to report it, and there'll be no consequences, and I would appreciate it. Stale items, okay? So if there are some, if for example, you might have a cheque that you're trying to match up with and you can't find the cheque going into your bank account, that might be a sign that there's some fraud that's happened there. So there's an item that there's something that hasn't worked. Okay, voided slips. This is what I was talking about with Lara yesterday. Right, imagine Lara goes to buy a bike, right? And Lara pays cash. She's loaded, she's got heaps of money on her. So rather than an electronic transaction, she pays cash. And I ring it up, I'm working there, thanks very much, $250 for your bike, Lara, here's $250. But rather than put the $250 in the till, I pop the $250 in my pocket, and I then go back and void the sale. I go and say, oh, there was a mistake here, the sale didn't matter, the customer changed his mind. So I've kept the $250, customers kept the bike, we're both happy, but the company's lost $250. Yes, so, but that won't be discovered for some period of time. That probably won't be discovered until the next stock take. Yeah, okay. Missing documents. Right. Let's say, for example, there's a bunch of purchase orders that you can't find. Right. There might be a reason for that. Maybe the money, maybe the purchase was made on that, but the purchase was not made where they were set. So if you fill out a purchase order for $1,000, we would do that as a school all the time. It might go to Coles for our groceries here. But if you can't find that original purchase order, you'll have a debit of $1,000, but maybe I've used that to buy myself air tickets down to Melbourne for the weekend. So missing documents. Lots of credit. Right. Now this is unusual in modern days. You don't have many businesses that offer credit except to other business customers. Okay, and what we could have is, let's say, I'm sorry to do this to again Lara, but let's say you're a business customer and you've got an account and you've got a whole lot of debits on your account and you pay it off every month. It may be that I add some extra credit onto Lara's account and steal some money out of the till. Everything balances because it goes as a credit sale, but Lara hasn't actually put it on credit at all. I've just picked up the money in between. Returns are an interesting area, potentially for fraud. Okay, so returns are saying that someone's brought something back. Right? Lara brings her bike back, and I give Lara the money. But if Lara doesn't actually bring her bike back, I just go through the till. I know Laura bought a bike, and I go through and say, okay, I just type up a refund for this product and take the money myself and put it in there. Sure, they're missing a bike, but they've got to find that bike to know that they're missing it. Increasing reconciling items. So that means that if there are a bunch of things that don't add up over time, okay, and your general ledger is out of balance. And a lot of businesses wouldn't use that, but if that ledger should be something that balances. So the accountants will use it. If you've got, then number 10, adjustments to receivables or payables, okay? If someone makes an adjustment to how much is received into the future or where payables are done, they might be using that to use the cash for themselves. So they're, if you like, they're adjusting the accounts to cover the fact that they've taken some cash out. So you might increase your accounts receivable and take the same amount in cash. But of course, not all those accounts receivables actually exist. Excess purchases. So 2 ways you can do this. Let's say the school is using Coles, and suddenly our supply amount goes up. Could be a couple of things happening there. We might be writing out for more, and someone might be getting a cash refund for that difference. Okay, so let's say we wrote out a purchase order for $1,200. We ran need $800 of goods. Coles might be giving us the $400 extra back cash that someone could steal. And the second part of that is, it might be that there's like some level of bribery going on. Okay, let's say, for example, I'm responsible for organising someone to mow the lawns here. That'd be a big job. So what I might do is I might do a deal with them. Josie might be the lawn mowing person. I'll say, okay, Josie, how much do you think you need to pay the lawn here? And she might say $800. I'll say, tell you what, I'll get it sorted out for $1,200. You keep $1,000, I'll keep $200. So there's effectively fraud going on because the cost of the mowing isn't $1,200, but that's what's being paid to Josie for the mowing, and she's giving me some of that as like an illegal kickback. Duplicate payments. Right? If you see that payments have been written more than once, that's a great way of stealing money. So, for example, we might have paid Josie $800 for the quarter, but it might appear twice over 2 months, right? And what's actually happened is, once Josie's got paid, but the second time, that's the fraudulent transaction where they've used Josie's invoice to take another $800 that someone's pocketed. So duplicate transactions, hold that. Ghost employees. This is paychecks, right? Putting someone into the pay system that doesn't actually exist. If you come and find out, I think this is one for a big business, clearly not a small business, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Armstrong will know if I put Stevens into the payroll system. He knows he hasn't got a Mr. Stevens working here.
Yeah.
It's probably less likely.
Wouldn't big companies have barriers in place for that?
Yeah.
Like at work, when we sign our payroll slip, we have to have our store manager and our accountant
Yeah.
witness it with us.
And probably the reason they're particular about that is maybe there was some fraud sometime from ghost employees.
Well, we had one employee at another store that, because we have adjustment sheets, so
Yep.
we have our written sheet and then change to write an adjustment for it. We was writing adjustments for the sheets and extending them so he would be paid
Yeah.
more. And he was getting paid like an extra $300 a week. And then payroll, because the budget obviously blew.
Yep.
And then payroll to that full manager, that's when he got caught.
Yep.
And had to pay back all the excess money that he wasn't paid.
Yeah. The next one is expense accounts. Right, so this means, let's say you're working somewhere probably in a higher level. You might have a credit card that you're allowed to use for certain purchases. For example, taking clients out to lunch. So what you might choose on a day when you're not taking clients out to lunch, you might meet your husband or your wife there and use their credit card. So that's the example of that. The next one is kind of related.
If your husband or wife was a client?
That would be different, I would imagine. They would have rules. Inventory shortage. This is a big one. Right? This this kind of, you can see some of these link. Remember when I sold Lara the bike, but I pretended that it was either return or voided transaction?
Yeah.
This is the same thing. This will show up as an inventory shortage. The other thing about inventory shortage is people could be stealing, right? You know, and that word we enjoyed when we came across it before, shrinkage. That's what they refer to when there is it. It uses there excessive shrinkage could explain a host of fraudulent activity, from embezzlement, right, so it's a clever way of defrauding the money, like the reversed sales receipt, through to theft.
So could that be like you would pretend like you're paying the people $1,000, but you're really only paying them $500, and then you pocket the other $500, and then you're getting $500 worth of inventories.
Well, that would be another way. Yeah, that would be like physical theft. Then you order $1,000 worth of computers, and you actually take one. It would show up eventually as an inventory shortage, but that would be a way of stealing. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't worry about anything worth under $20.
Yeah.
When we see stuff that's worth under $20.
So, and that, of course, that leads into a potential problem for small amounts of fraud, doesn't it? Because
what if you were just taking stuff slowly that was less
that's
than
right.
$20?
Yeah.
Well, anything
over
$20 has a security sticker on it. So if you walk out and you haven't paid,
so I could walk out with a chum chop and you wouldn't know. No one told me that.
Don't take Josie to the bar's bedside.
Although I'm too good of a person, like my conscience, I'd have to come back and be like, I did this.
Not everything is beat, but anything under $20 from our department, anything over we security tag, and if it doesn't get swiped through, because it gets removed if they pick it up.
Yeah.
So if you walk out and have a security tag on it, we'll catch up. And then we had a guy that tried to walk out with $40 worth of secret on his job. As he was walking out of the store, he nearly got away with it. Prawns started falling out. That's how he got caught.
Very nice. And don't, I see, okay. So you have a different label, even from the deli section, for high value purchases. That's fascinating. Number 16. This is really about manufacturing. And most manufacturing processes have a bunch that does stuff that doesn't get used. If you're manufacturing leather travel bags, you don't quite use all the leather. You have little offcuts and stuff like that. If that was to increase significantly, it might be that people are stealing the materials, and that varies. Copper, for example.
Happen if you're a manufacturer?
Yeah, very much a manufacturing one, and it says that in the manufacturing process there to start with. Large payments to individuals. Now this was, if you remember, the Queensland Health case. Was it Tahitian prince, the fake prince? He did this. He set up a company. His was around the accounts payments process. He set up a series of fake companies that he claimed were doing work for education for Queensland Health, and he received all the payments from those companies. So they were pretend invoices and so on. So the thing that would have been there, large payments to individuals or companies, that they should have been better monitored.
How much money did you take?
It was quite a lot. It was a lot of money. Yeah, it was.
Is he in jail?
Yes, he is in jail. And they.
No one said anything to him. Why are you working at Queensland Health?
Well, probably the fake prince thing helped in that whole story. It was probably quite a clever thing. People felt that maybe it came from a family.
Working at a health store?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. They needed you there, Josie. Overtime, and Lara gave an example there. Just changing your timesheets, right, to add more hours to what you work. Writing off of accounts receivable. Right, if you're a company and you've got an accounts receivable, that's money you're expecting to receive in the future. Let's say Josie has got accounts receivable for $1,000, and for some reason I write that down in the accounting process to $500. Mm-hmm. Now there's a few reasons why I might do that. Josie might have returned an item. You did an accident. Or Josie might have paid me $500, I've taken it, and I've just reduced the value of her accounts receivable and I've stolen the $500. So any time that you reduce accounts receivable, that's going to be one of those. And the last one, post office boxes as shipping addresses. it might be a way of setting up a fake purchaser for goods. Okay, so let's say you're an online store. I just bought something for next week for the book week portrayed from an online store. One of their workers might be stealing stuff from it by setting up a PO box and sending it to themselves. And the idea of a PO box is that it's not as traceable. Right? If Josie's stealing things and she sends it to her house, right, that's probably not the smartest. Yeah, that's not the smartest piece of work. It's just a way of covering your
But you can go to the post office and be like, who owns PO Box 17?
I don't know what the rules are in terms of that. It doesn't seem like it's entirely risk free, but that is what they say there.